This program is brought to you in part by the Paul B. Hunter and Constance D. Hunter Charitable Foundation, Incorporated, a proud partner of WUCF-TV and the Central Florida community.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Phil Hoffman and welcome to Central Florida Road Trip. Today we're going to make a stop in Lake County in America's seaplane city, Tavares. Located about 35 miles northwest of Orlando, Tavares is a forward-thinking community building its future by honoring its past.
We started getting people here in 1843. To get here was tough. The best way was by boat. The person that got Tavares started was Alexander St. Clair Abrams. And he envisioned Tavares not only to become the county seat, he wanted Tavares to be the state capital.
It was 1875 when wealthy Orlando attorney Major Alexander St. Clair Abrams first came upon this area. And he was very wealthy and very determined and very powerful. It wasn't until 1880 that he started buying up property and started immediately in 1880 to start building at a rapid pace, started building his town, which he named Tavares from an ancestor of his who was a high nobleman, what they call a grandee of Spain. Tried to let people believe that that was the Spanish word Tavares for the middle or center or gut. It wasn't, but that's what he led people to believe, and he was so powerful because he figured Tavares is the center of the state. What better location to have the new capital of Florida be in the center of the state?
Tavares did not get the state capital that of course went to Tallahassee, but they did become the Lake County seat and the city began to grow. The railroads were a huge boon for the area, but they were also part of the city's undoing.
Late in 1880 and 1888, there was a fire at one of the train depots, and somebody thought they had got the fire out. A wind off Lake Dora came and started that fire up again. All of a sudden, all these stores and the beautiful, elegant Peninsular Hotel, which was just built in 1888, a month before, became ablaze.
A spark caught on and started a fire. So all the wood buildings, I mean, there was like 40 of them, went up.
Annie Burley, one of Lake County and Tavares' grand ladies, her husband, a future mayor, owned the Lake Abstract and Title Company. So she had hitched up Dolly, their mule, on a wagon, and she came through the fire and the smoke to the Lake Abstract and started helping her husband and his partner start loading up all the documents.
Legend has it that she rode the wagon into the lake. Well, she rode it to the lake, her husband rode it into the lake, but nonetheless, she gets the credit for that because she helped to save the town.
Another important slice of Tavares' past is its part in the citrus industry that started back in 1845 before the county was even formed.
Captain Haynes was a very famous man and still one of Florida's most popular pioneers. Captain Haynes is credited with beginning the sweet orange industry here in Central Florida. Descendants of his original seedlings, orange seedlings, covered what is today the I-4 corridor and the US 27 corridor. It wasn't until almost 50 years later that that sweet orange that he planted became known as the Parson Brown orange, which is the name is still used today for that sweet orange. Oranges were a big product, but many people don't know that grapefruits also became very popular. The ruby red grapefruit was named for Ruby Pravat, who lived here in Tavares. Her father was the mayor and also the director of the Lake Region Packing Association for many years. Her beautiful face is shown on the label and became a worldwide name for the ruby red grapefruit.
Tavares is one of probably the only city that I know of in the country that has 5 courthouses, and they're all still standing.
In 1887, when Lake County was established, the governor appointed Colonel Meelam as the county judge who lived here in Tavares. His home, which is still standing today, was the first courthouse for Lake County. In 1880s, Major Alexander St. Clair Abrams put up the money to build the very first courthouse here on Main Street. They had moved by mule the Pioneer Building over to the next lot over, and in the 1920s, the third courthouse was built here on Main Street, which is today the historic courthouse on the National Register of Historic Places. Since then, 2 more courthouses has been built.
Tavares, like many cities, has had to survive a few lean years, but they've moved forward by looking back, building their future off the past.
We started thinking about what we needed to do as our city, because we were just nothing. It was just the courthouse and sheriff department, and that was it.
What we did was we actually went to the history. We decided to build on a historic foundation. Let's take where we were way back when and build upon that to become an economic vital city.
And so we really have gotten the name of a destination city, and we are a destination city, a place to come to.
Tavares is an unusual city. Visitors can come here for a wide range of experiences by air, boat, or train.
No sooner was aviation born that seaplanes and putting pontoons on seaplanes was the way to get from one place to another. And Lake County, with 1,400 named lakes, obviously became a place for seaplanes to come and land. In 1914, record-setting aviatrix Clara Adams landed on the shores of Tavares. Also that same year, Tony Janis, the first licensed commercial pilot in America, landed at Benoit 14 on the shores of Tavares.
The seaplane was invented in 1910 in France, and 4 years later, seaplanes were flying off these shores in Tavares in 1914. The community got together and decided to pick itself up from its bootstraps and create a vision for its future because the economy was hurting, and they decided collectively that they wanted to brand themselves as America's Seaplane City based on those historical events.
Over the past decade or so, Tavares has indeed become America's Seaplane City, a result that has produced some major economic gains.
The rebranding of America's Seaplane City has brought jobs and growth to our community.
Tavares is great in the way that they embrace the seaplane community. So many communities around the country put aviation as far away from the center of town as possible, whereas Tavares brings it into the center of town and really builds the town around it and gets the town excited about it.
We came to Tavares because there was a meeting of the minds with regard to what Tavares was looking to do with their city and making it America's Seaplane City, and the fact that we manufactured seaplanes and we were looking for a place to be able to conduct our business and grow our business, and we have the perfect place to do this.
There's a lot of cute little towns, there's a lot of pretty little towns, a lot of waterfronts, but people have to have a reason to go there. And we find that since we built the restaurant on the marina here and the seaplane base, that we have people coming from an hour away, sitting here having lunch, just waiting for seaplanes to land.
I knew that if we planted the seed and watered it and fertilized it, it would grow. We just did our 25,000th seaplane. Would never have been able to predict that. But the economic impact in our restaurants, in our hotels, in our manufacturing, in our jobs has been hugely successful. We did plant the seed, we fertilized it, we provided the support for it with fueling and docks and terminal building, and from there it grew into America's Seaplane City.
One of the things that we do that's for the public is we do seaplane rides. We do seaplane rides anywhere from 10 minutes up to about an hour and a half or so. Seaplanes in Florida is just a fabulous combination. Number one, because there's so much water, and number two, because the freedom of being able to land just about anywhere in Florida.
What's unique about seaplanes is its niche and its wow. The Indiana Jones feel of splashing out of the lake, circling around, and landing in any lake you want, without looking for a runway with runway lights and security and terminal buildings. Seaplanes give you that total freedom of flight. 1 minute you're a boat, the water is up to your ears, you're in the cockpit, full throttle, pull the yoke back, the water is splashing, you're pulling out, there's an exciting feeling, and all of a sudden, you lift off. And off you go into the sky. You really get a different perspective. And then you can pick a lake and come very low down to it and just fly it at a very low altitude. And there's a thrill and a sense of excitement, and it's real. There's just nothing like it. It's real Florida, real flying.
If a calming cruise along the water is a little bit more your thing, then a historic journey along the Dora Canal might be a trip well worth taking.
The Dora Canal, originally called the Elfin River, is a natural waterway. Beautiful. It connects Lake Dora with Lake Eustis. It's entirely in the city of Tavares. Grantland Rice used to visit here in the 1940s and 1950s, and he was very well known. He was a sports writer, very well known for his prose and his words. And Grantland Rice had said that the Dora Canal was the most beautiful mile of waterway in the world, and he was right.
The Dora Canal was first dug back in the 1880s to enable boat traffic to help with the transporting of goods and products to market. Tourists and locals now can take an eco-boat tour to get a first-hand look at the pristine nature along the Dora Canal.
We like to call it the Jungle River. We're lined with bald cypress trees on either side, creating a great environment to see alligators, turtles, lots of different water birds, all our herons. We also go through the residential section, which was the hand-dug section.
Now we're still in the man-made portion of the Dora Canal. It took 70 men 2 years to dig this out by hand in the 1800s. Picks, shovels, and axes were the tools of the day. What was pretty incredible back in the 1800s is they did not lose one man, not to a snake bite, a gator bite, disease, or an accident. Pretty incredible. Now this is a sanctuary, and it's protected by state, local, and federal authorities. And the rule is nothing in, nothing out. So you're going to see a lot of debris fields. And that's basically from Hurricane Irma. If something falls and blocks the canal, we just come in here and cut it up and shove it to the side and let nature take its course. And it's amazing how quickly nature will take its course.
It's just so natural that everyone likes to call it Old Florida. You know, on a busy day, hundreds and hundreds of people go and see the Dora Canal because it is that special.
Johnny Weissmuller and the production team from Hollywood came to film Tarzan movies in the Dora Canal because it's jungle atmosphere. Like in Silver Springs, when they filmed there for Tarzan movies, same here in Dora Canal, a lot of the monkeys remained. But yes, Johnny Weissmuller and Maureen O'Sullivan filmed some of the Tarzan clips here in the Dora Canal in Tavares.
Here's our state tree right here. Sable palm. It's the only natural growing tree in the state of Florida. All the rest of the trees that are palm trees in the state of Florida have been brought here one way or another. Oh, wow. Yeah. All right, we got a pretty good sized gator laying in the water here. 9 or 10 foot gator right there. There are 6 snakes in Florida that are poisonous, actually venomous, and all 6 of them are in this canal. It's a pretty unique tree right here. It is a cypress tree. As you can see, it starts together, then it separates and comes together, and it separates and comes together, and you go up a little while, and it comes together a few times. I call that the Elizabeth Taylor tree. When it's raining and storming in here, it's still breathtaking. It's never a bad day in here.
This whole area, the Harris chain of lakes, and the Dora Canal especially, really is Old Florida, absolutely. One of my captains likes to say, every day it's different in the Dora Canal.
The Dora Canal is a great way to experience old Florida. And at Tavares, you can also take another ride into the past by riding on the rails.
The railroad has been very instrumental here in Tavares. At one time, they had 5 railroads that served this community. Now, St. Clair Abrams set this town up to be either the county seat and the state capital. So he nourished and encouraged the railroads to come in, and that's why he was able to bring so many here.
The original depot was built back in 1888 and stood for 100 years before burning down in 1988. With their plan of building on their history, the city of Tavares set out to rekindle a passion for trains.
I would say that this town is one of the most progressive communities I've been in. They started this project of rebuilding the station and the platform right after 2008. Honestly, you have to be here to appreciate what they have done. Just as an example, before they started, the railroad tracks were just covered up with grass. Obviously, when they've come in now, they've replaced it. It's first-class track. It is really fantastic. One of the most incredible things that I've seen in my lifetime is the nostalgia that goes with riding a train. The train ride we're offering right now actually links the three cities, the Golden Triangle. So you can jump on the train here in Tavares, take it over to Mount Dora, get off if you want for a while, catch a later train, go back up to Eustis, come back to Tavares. So it's about a 2-hour trip right now. You're going to see what old-time Florida is really like.
Choo-choo.
In the narration, we do include as much history as we can. So we do talk about St. Clair Abrams, Mount Dora, how many different names it had, and the same with Eustis. 3 very interesting communities, all a little bit different with history.
All aboard!
The train features railroad cars from many, many different railroads. Some of them that served here, like the Atlantic Coast Line and the Seaboard Airline. Empire Builder is represented by the Great Northern Railroad. I think we have 12 passenger cars, and we have a Pullman sleeping car, which in itself is very, very unique.
This is the Polar Express!
Our company approached Warner Brothers Rail Events about bringing a Polar Express event to this area. And when they flew their representatives out here and saw the train and the park and everything, they honestly turned to me and said, "This is the spot." Can you imagine doing it for the first time here? We did it, I think, about 50 different trips. We carried 47,000 people came in and enjoyed the Polar Express.
Well, you coming?
Where?
Why, to the North Pole, of course.
Another popular spot in Tavares, especially with brides-to-be, is the Pavilion on the lake. It's another beautiful restoration that once again honors its past.
The Tavares Pavilion on the lake was completed in 1914 with wood pilings and a wood structure down a long wooden pier. It was a community gathering place. The Women's Club, they would hold dances, and there were meetings out here, and just a family gathering place used for a variety of different social activities. And it isn't much different than that now.
The original pavilion was torn down in 1961 and was not rebuilt until almost 50 years later. The new pavilion debuted in 2014.
What's interesting is that it is the same architectural style as it was then. You will see that the building is wrapped in glass so that all of the lake views are preserved at every angle of the building. We installed electrochromic glass, smart glass, some people call it, so that it tints down naturally as the sun moves in the hemisphere. Because we have southern exposure, it gets very hot in this building if we had not installed that glass. We incorporated a lot of clever design into the building. Interestingly enough, the building opened officially August 30th of 2014, and since that time, we have hosted nearly 500 events. We are booked out 18 months in advance, but because brides can't necessarily get in when they want to, they're now choosing to get married during the week. So we see a lot of Monday weddings and Thursday weddings as well, which is interesting. We did not expect that.
The pavilion is just one of the many reasons Tavares is becoming a destination. The city hosts over 30 events every year.
We are host site for the Antique Boat Festival, and we have a very large Christmas event and July 4th event. We have seaplane fly-ins and planes, trains, and barbecue, and we have a huge Halloween event. So what that's done for us is really, while we've just been busy creating and developing those events for our local guests, we have attracted thousands and thousands of people outside of our community who might ordinarily not come here until they've been to one of our events. While we were trying to create something nice for families here, it really turned into something else as a nice surprise.
It's a common sight to see mobile home communities here in Florida. In fact, it can seem like they're everywhere. But what you may not know is the concept for mobile home communities got its start right here in Tavares.
Mr. Charles Squibb was a realtor and a well-known Tavarian, very popular, and he really took the idea of snowbirds to a next level. He thought he'd create in Tavares mobile home communities, Imperial Terrace and mobile home estates, to name a couple. And there's still very vibrant mobile home communities today. And now we have full-time residents staying at these mobile parks as well. And his office is actually still standing. It's in the shape of a boat. It's very nice. Mr. Squibb also donated a lot of land, over 130 acres, as a wetland preserve here in Tavares down Dead River Road. There's a boardwalk along there that you can visit.
In 1931, William LeVar came to Tavares looking for work, so he went to the barber shop, not for a haircut, but for a job.
Mr. William LeVar asked the guy if he can work for him. Well, the barber said, well, do you have any experience? And Mr. LeVar says, well, sure, I can cut hair. So the barber asked one of the patrons if he would be willing to volunteer to have Mr. LeVar cut him his hair and shave him. And the customer agreed to that. And sure enough, Mr. LeVar did a wonderful job that the barber hired him on the spot, and Mr. LeVar was able to get married, move his family to Tavares. And he was a barber here in town for 51 years.
One of the favorite sons of Tavares is a guy who was associated with the early days of NASCAR auto racing. He's somebody who is a legend in the sport and went by the nickname Fireball.
And Fireball gets the checkered flag.
Edward Glenn Roberts Jr., later known as Fireball, was probably NASCAR's first household name. People who were not race fans knew the name Fireball and knew it was synonymous with stock car racing. And he was everything you would think a stock car driver would look like, but he could back it up too with his ability. He was fearless.
Although Fireball did live up to his nickname on the track, ironically, his nickname has nothing to do with racing. Rather, it's from baseball.
According to his sister Joanne, his nickname, it was a sandlot deal. He was a sandlot pitcher, and his catcher was a fellow named Dimitri Baltos. Dimitri is the guy who called him Fireball because he had to catch those fastballs of his. And you didn't call him Fireball. He didn't like the name. He wanted to be known as Glenn. Or if you talk to his sister or any family members, he was Bubby. But he was one of the only drivers of his era who actually went to college. He went to the University of Florida for a while. He wanted to be a mechanical engineer. He loved listening to opera. He was not your stereotypical late 40s race car driver. I remember his wife, Doris, said that she fell in love with his mind and not just, you know, him personally. But he was very unusual, very well spoken, very savvy.
Fireball ran in 206 NASCAR races over 15 years, winning 33 times, including the 1962 Daytona 500. Roberts tragically died in 1964 in a fiery crash at the Charlotte Speedway in the World 600. His death did, however, lead to several safety enhancements in racing, like the use of fuel cells to prevent fiery explosions and the use of fire retardant driver suits.
Fireball was in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, but he never won a championship. It's what he brought to the sport. And the way he was the right guy at the right time when the high-speed, high-bank tracks were being built. People were just transfixed with him. Quite a remarkable person, very much out of the ordinary for his time. And folks knew he was something special. And he really brought NASCAR up to the next level.
The streets in Tavares, like in many towns, are mostly named after founding fathers or notable residents. But in Tavares' case, well, they took it one step further. The city also named its alleyways. Yeah, the city honors folks like the Bulwares, Marie King, and even prominent locations like the Lake Region Citrus Packing Plant. Altogether so far, they have refurbished and named 16 alleyways in Tavares. Tavares has yet another first to its credit, and to find it, look no further than the front of the historic courthouse. The city of Tavares was the first to have its own county flag.
They had a contest and there were 19 submissions of flags. Mrs. E.G. Owens of Leesburg came up with the winning design of the county flag. And in 1937, after building a flagpole outside the historic courthouse, they dedicated that new flag on the 50th anniversary of Lake County. That flag in 1936 became the first official county flag in the United States of America.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed our stop in Tavares here on Central Florida Road Trip. I'm Dr. Phil Hoffman. Join us next time as we continue to explore the rich history that surrounds us every day right here in Central Florida on Central Florida Road Trip.
This program is brought to you in part by the Paul B. Hunter and Constance D. Hunter Charitable Foundation, Incorporated, a proud partner of WUCF-TV and the Central Florida community.